This week on Create, Consume, Repeat, I'm kicking off 2020 with an in-depth, behind-the-scenes look at my first solo indie short film, Mar de Soledad. So if you're interested in learning what it really takes to shoot, light, and direct your own short film, stick around. If you've been following this channel, you already know that I work in the advertising industry. But in my early 20s, after graduating from New York University, I spent a year working the New York City indie film scene, grinding out a living by working on several indie films, most of which never really saw the light of day. And the few that actually did, well, they were niche horror films which were released direct to video. During that year, I cut my teeth and learned firsthand what it really takes to get a production off the ground. From making coffee, wrangling cables, and setting up lights.
Aziz, light!
Fast forward 20 years and things have changed dramatically. Advances in technology like smaller, high-quality digital cameras, LED lights that don't require a generator, a variety of distribution channels like YouTube, Vimeo, Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu have made certain aspects easier. But the difficulty level of getting a film made still remains extremely high. The topic of loneliness, anxiety, and depression amongst our elderly population is a very serious issue that deserves our attention. With that said, enjoy Mar de Soledad and stick around for the behind the scenes after the film. And in case you've already seen it or you just want to get to the behind the scenes, just skip ahead.
Gracias te damos, Señor, por el alimento que vamos a recibir. Qué triste es vivir sola. Floto en el mar de la soledad. La tristeza es mi única compañera. Miro desde atrás de los barrotes de mi jaula con la esperanza de deslumbrar una cara familiar. Sin embargo, ninguno aparece. Ocupo mi mente con libros y arte, pero solo me recuerdan lo solo que me siento. Nadie con quien discutir, nadie para compartir. El mundo se ha vuelto feo y frío. Me resulta difícil dormir. Entonces veo la televisión y me pregunto si estoy viendo o si me mira a mí. Eventualmente me quedo dormido, solo para soñar que estoy gritando, sin embargo nada sale. Me despierto y compruebo si todavía tengo lengua. De vez en cuando recibo una llamada, pero siempre es un número incorrecto. Cuando respondo ya no reconozco mi voz.
¿Aló?
Mi acento ha cambiado.
¿Aló? Sorry. Wrong number.
Supongo que es porque ya no me siento como yo. Los días se alargan y mis pensamientos se oscurecen. Reflexiono sobre la crueldad del tiempo mientras miro mi café. A veces escucho a alguien en mi puerta, pero rápidamente me doy cuenta de que mi mente me está engañando. Rezo que algún día pronto me reencuentre con mis hijos y mi esposo. Pero en última instancia, todo lo que puedo hacer es esperar.
A few qualifiers before we jump in. 1. All the equipment you see used is owned by me, and I am not paid by anyone to endorse any of it. I have researched each and every single piece and deemed it worthy of my hard-earned cash. Yes, I know, renting equipment is cheaper, but it isn't that cut and dry, but we'll discuss that later on. 2. I pulled this film together in just
2 weeks. Excuse me?
That includes writing, shooting, and editing all by myself, with the only exception being my brother's help transporting the equipment back and forth. Thanks, George. 3. The reason for such a quick turnaround was a desire to enter the film into a contest where I was going to be competing against really big production houses. Sure, the chances of winning were slim, yet the idea of competing helped me stay motivated and laser focused. 4. The behind-the-scenes footage you'll see is unscripted and shot on an iPhone. It's not the best quality, but it provides a really true, honest depiction of how the film was shot. Here you have all the equipment that I'm bringing tomorrow. I lay it out on the floor just because it helps me to actually kind of check things off. Here we have some flags from Matthews, essential equipment that you would need just to cut and control light. Matthews slider stands. I have the Matthews travel bag, which is really great if you're a single person shooter. Quasar lights, which again are really wonderful. And you'll see how I'll be using these with the pigeons. I think they work really well to kind of tuck a light in the corner. My Aperture 120D Mark II kit, which has 3 lights and the stands in them. I love this kit. This kit is amazing. On top of that, I have my wooden camera shoulder rig, Aperture Light Dome 2, probably the most essential thing you would need on any shoot, sandbags. I have my Rhino slider right there. I would have liked to have used the duty dolly, but money. Last but not least, I have my camera bag here, which carries a ton of equipment. I actually love this bag, but inside I have a Sony a7R II, Sigma 24mm cine lens, which is my go-to lens for shooting. I have a ton of filters. I have boom mics in the side pockets, XLR cables. As mentioned earlier, I own all my equipment. Obviously, when shooting a film, renting equipment is 99% of the time the best course of action. That said, one of the benefits of owning your equipment that is commonly overlooked is the freedom to learn and practice at your own pace. Of course, owning equipment requires money, research, and a fundamental understanding of what equipment you should actually invest your money in. My advice? Invest in C-stands, flags, lights, and a solid tripod. These are all pieces that will never age and are found on every film or commercial set. Obviously, you will need a camera, but you don't need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars. Huge advances are being made in camera technology all the time, which drive the prices down. So it makes no sense to blow your budget on the latest and greatest when its value will depreciate quickly. Sure, an iPhone running Filmic Pro will work if you can't afford to rent or buy a camera with pro features. But as Chris Rock once said,
"You can drive a car with your feet if you want to. That don't make it a good fucking idea."
And for those that point at Tangerine, Unsane, or Apple's latest epic snowball fight commercial, Snowbrawl, they prove that great lighting, camera movement, and a deep understanding of your camera's strengths, weaknesses, and limitations are essential. But if I have to play devil's advocate, I would like to point out that Apple has a business incentive to shoot on an iPhone.
The world is a business, Mr. Beale. It has been since man crawled out of the slime.
Tangerine used it as a promotional tactic to stand out in the crowded indie film crowd. And ultimately, the better question to ask is, are you willing to bet your whole production on an iPhone? Obviously, I wanted to come off the background, so we actually have Rapid Box by Westcott up there, but it is powered by a 120D2. We've picked a white tablecloth, just so that it'll kind of help with the actual bounce interface. We don't want it all in shadow. Next thing is, we know we have these 2 lights here that we plan on using. They're not gonna be there. Inside this case where she has all her plates, all her little knickknacks, we know once the lights go down, it's gonna be dead back there. So with that said, one of the best tools in my toolbox happens to be one of these little bad boys. the Amran AL-M9s. These things are invaluable. This and double-sided tape. So we are planning to actually, and by we, me, because it's a crew of one, we're gonna end up taping them up top where they're nice and hidden and turning them on just to give a little accent light in the background so this comes to life. All these little details, one person, moving quickly. Originally, I had the Aperture Light Dome 2 right here, and it was kind of coming in to fill in the shadows with on the actress. And then I'm still using this strip box from Westcott, and it's actually mounted on a pigeon. I'm actually using another Amran right here because the light bulb that we were using was actually a little too intense. When you're shooting somewhere small, it's really, really difficult to get lights in places. Obviously, if you're working in a studio, obviously you have high ceilings. I have very low ceilings in this apartment. On top of that, I really don't want to nail anything into the ceiling. I'm not the best grip in the world, but I do know how to work around things. So I use another Matthew C-stand with a quasar light, and I set it to the same color temperature that I'm shooting at right now, which is about 2700 Kelvin. And what I love about the quasar light is you can change the colors. That's great, change the color temperature, it's phenomenal. And I love how the light is just bouncing off of all of these like dishes. It's really just a nice little touch. Here I am again using the slider, again using false color to tell me what's going on, what's falling into shadow. And again, I love fog, so using a lot of fog to give the actual lights some volume. As you can see, I am shooting this solo, and in no way is this ideal. But in this instance, it was a calculated choice for various reasons. One, I had no budget, and for every person on set, I would need to account for transportation and food, which is a topic most people ignore when talking about filmmaking, because hell, it isn't sexy. The logistical and financial implications of even a small crew add up quickly. Pizza and rental vans don't grow on trees. 2, the actress had no experience. The script was deeply personal, and capturing those raw emotions would get harder with every new face on set. In my opinion, this is one of the most important and difficult skills to master. I'm definitely no expert, and as you'll see, I made a few poor choices due to a lack of proper equipment and knowledge in a given situation. Call it user error. Along with conveying emotion through the actress's performance, it was imperative I established my character's isolation and loneliness using set design, shot selection, and camera movement. From dining alone at a table for 4, looking out the window of her gilded cage, establishing that slow passage of time, and a quick dream sequence that represented the sea of emotions that rage inside her. All of these elements had to be carefully thought through and weaved in subtly. Originally, I kept thinking, well, why don't I just show her close up of her actually just screaming, and that would be powerful. But then I thought, well, I love horror movies, and this is kind of scary and horrific and terrible. So I thought, an effect shot. Now, originally I had mentioned that I've been shooting everything on a 24mm. For this shot, I am using my 85mm Sony G Master, and I'll show you how I'm using false color. You can kind of see how the Atmos basically shows where the light is falling, where it's not falling, and you can kind of see the composition. And I also have I'm gonna be shooting in 2.35, so it brings up my bars. What could have been a normal shot became an effect shot in which her reflection and actual body movements, well, they don't match, further emphasizing her feelings of being muted and unseen. This was, of course, accomplished by shooting split screen and then stitching it together in Final Cut Pro. Realistic expectations, craft, a thick skin, and passion are only a few of the necessary traits to be a filmmaker. I knew going in I wasn't going to win, and that my film would never ever live up to my expectations due to my lack of skill and budget. Yet I still feel this film was a freaking huge success. Why, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you. It struck a chord in the people that saw it and started a small but very important conversation amongst my peers. It helped me to finally stop talking about making a personal film and actually forced me to make a personal film, which in turn filled me with pride, confidence, and a wealth of knowledge, which I will take with me on my next film. That'll do it for this episode of Create, Consume, Repeat, and I would greatly appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe buttons, along with letting me know in the comment section below what you think about this episode, the short film, or if you like the actual content on this episode so that I can keep cranking it out for you guys. Ooh, that sounded dirty. But more importantly, please share this channel, this episode, or the short film with your friends and family. You can find a direct link to the short right here. And if you really want to help, post it on your social channels.